recording does not the official record of this meeting. We have the pledge. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Any revisions today?
No.
Good. Should we?
They're in the hall.
Okay.
So we do have some public
Public comment
on
today?
a non-agenda item. Maybe I would ask Brittany Shirley to introduce those comments.
So, at our stand-up meetings on Monday mornings, right before the board meeting on Tuesday, I always offer up to staff if they have anything exciting happening in their classrooms that they want me to share with the board. And so Ms. Joby, who is new in second grade this year, has taken us up on that. And more than just me sharing, we have a little student showcase of the writing that they've been doing in second grade. And so they would like to share that quickly with the board.
Awesome. Thank you guys.
Thank
Thanks
you
for
so
coming.
much. My name is Angela Joby. I'm a second grade teacher here at Ophir. And we're going to be celebrating some amazing student voices today and showing our love of reading and writing. You're going to hear a clear structure and their writer's voice. And these are book reviews and they're student selected. So we're going to come on out all together. Ready, Emma? Should we face this way or is this okay?
It's up to
Yeah,
you.
face
Okay.
the board.
Yeah, we want to face the
People
board.
online, sorry.
Exactly.
No, look here, look at the
This
board.
way, yes.
Okay.
Turn around and
There
look
we
at your live audience.
Okay, you ready, Emma? Go ahead.
My name is Emma Coots. I am in second grade, and I love school and reading. Hi, I am Rose Menke. I am in second grade. I love doing art and math. Hi, my name is Riley Bowman, and I'm in second grade, and I love art and to read. Hi, my name is Oscar Rakoff. I like Legos and sports.
Great, you ready? I'm going to be reviewing.
I'm going to be reviewing Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day by Judith Voss.
Go ahead.
Have you ever had a terrible, horrible, very bad day? If so, Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day is the book for you. Alexander is nice. In the story, he is mad and sad. He has mean brothers and his mom and dad at home. Alexander has a bad day going on and on and on. Read on to find out what happens after Alexander's mom forgets to put his desserts in his lunchbox. You learn an important lesson in life from this book, which is everyone can have a bad day, even if they're adults. Also, there's lots of illustrations that blow my mind. For example, the picture of Alexander when he's squished in the carpool on the way to school shows how frustrated he is. I recommend this book to kids 10 and under. I also recommend to elementary age kids who sometimes have bad days. Run to your local bookstore and find Alexander and the Terrible, Horrible, No Good, Very Bad Day before it sells out.
All right, this is Rose.
I am going to be reviewing Pumpkin Soup by Helen Cooper. Have you ever had an argument with a friend? If so, Pumpkin Soup could be the book for you. The characters are the duck who sprinkles the salt, the cat who drops the pumpkin, and the squirrel who stirs the soup. Gets into a tremendous fight because Duck wants to stir the soup, but his friends say no. The duck runs away from the old white cabin to the deep dark forest. Read on to find out what happens when Duck runs away. Will he fall off a cliff or open his own soup shop? This book is important because the reader learns an important lesson to treat others how you want to be treated and be kind to everyone. The illustrations are comical and really realistic. For example, the old white cabin is really detailed. My favorite part is when they let Duck stir the soup and he makes a humongous mess. I recommend this book for kids 5 to 11 who are in elementary who love animals. Now kids, don't sleep on your way to check out Pumpkin Soup at your library.
Alright, and this is Oscar.
Hi, my name is Oscar Akab. I'm going to be reviewing the book Bad Bunny by Jonathan Bentley. Okay. Do you like funny books with a silly animal character? If so, Bad Bunny is the book for you. Bad Bunny is a silly, clever, and naughty bunny, and also there's a fox who's trying to eat bunnies. Read on to find out what happens to the bunnies when the fox comes out of the forest. This book is important because if you are clever, you are helpful and also important. Also, the pictures are hilarious. For example, when the fox eats the hot donut, my favorite part is when the bunnies cheer for Bad Bunny. I recommend this book for kids 4 to 12 and elementary students who love to laugh. Now kids, go to your bookstore and buy Bad Bunny before I do.
And this is Riley.
I am reviewing the book Camille and the Sunflowers by Lawrence Ann Holtz. Have you ever seen an artist that inspires you a lot? If so, Camille and the Sunflowers could be the book for you. Vincent, a famous artist, couldn't sell his paintings, and everyone was mean to him. Read on to find out what happens when Camille gives him sunflowers. This book is important because it is about history, and you learn an important lesson about life. Like, don't judge a book by its cover. For example, when everyone was mean to Camille because of Vincent's painting. My favorite part of the book was when Vincent Van Gogh painted a portrait of Camille because it looked so good. I think the age range should be 6 to 99 because this book is so great. I recommend this book to kids and adults who love to paint like artists. Run, don't walk to a bookstore and get the book Camille and the Sunflowers before I did.
We are so proud of our second graders and also just really proud of the instruction in reading and writing and seeing the kids just really growing their love for reading and their ability, you could hear their ability to summarize, they're thinking about theme, how to catch the reader's attention. So thank you so much for having us today. Should be so proud of yourselves. All right, Riley, you ready to go?
Thanks, guys.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much.
Thanks, Miss Jody, that was good. Now,
Let's get this over with. Let's see, taking approval of the minutes from the last meeting.
I think you got 2 sets there.
I'll make a motion to approve minutes from January 14th as well as our special meeting on February 3rd. Also included in this packet is an email that was sent to all trustees.
I second the motion.
Any discussion? Call for a vote. All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
Aye.
Commendations, Rick?
Yeah, just quickly, that email was in there, so something that goes to all of you that's generally not for me, I'm gonna be here, like mine are really brief,
Yeah.
should be somewhere put.
Yep.
I mean, I would just recognize, Big Sky Resort, everybody on campus especially, I need a real mind for the execution of and the PTO for the execution of our ski days this year. I mean, there's always 3 or 4 things that come up that make ski days quite frustrating for people. But at the end of the day, by and large, the kids have a great time, and I would think it's still probably one of the most unique experiences in the state of Montana.
Yeah, I still tell people we do that and they're like, really? So, okay, great. Move on to the superintendent report.
So I sent this out. I'll just give a brief overview of those bills that I put on there because they are bills that are either education or education adjacent. We had the official count yesterday, so there's our enrollment numbers. So that'll be what we start working on as we head towards building the budget for next year. Corky's he'll talk about that in the budget committee report and in his own report. We've already got preliminary numbers in based on what we know today. prior to any legislation. So just a few to be kind of aware of, only one that I'm really very excited about, or a couple, but Senate Bill 260, this is the bill that we talked about during our special meeting. Trustee McLean and Chair Jennings and myself will be there tomorrow to testify in support of Senate Bill 260, so we'll see where that goes from there. House Bill 121 was an interesting one that came up that could have some implications for the school, and this is it's gonna define what it's gonna use definitions to assign through biology and or genetic criteria to identify males and females, and then there has to be a significant degree of separation of those particular areas in affected facilities, public schools being one of those. And then it also is gonna allow for fairly significant legal action for any individual who does not, who has found themselves in that position. If there's a male ends up in a female dressing room, for example. So keeping a close eye on this one, I anticipate this one's probably gonna make it. But we'll keep a close eye on it and see what the implications are for schools as far as signage and how to really enforce that. House Bill 339 could be a good one too. This will allow that sixth graders in a middle school program will be funded at the 7th and 8th grade level, which is at the high school level. So that's been a long time coming. Currently, sixth graders, regardless if they're in a middle school program or just a self-contained program like elementary, are paid as elementary. And then House Bill 320, this one passed second reading 51-48, very, very controversial. Kara can probably speak to this as well. It establishes a $4 million tax credit for individuals to cover qualified education expenses not related to the public school.
So I was reading that yesterday too, can you explain that a little more?
I go to Butte Central, I pay tuition, that's a tax credit
For the family.
for the family.
And I think we're trying to make it so that the tuition is actually not the tax credit, but things like alternative therapies, like chiropractic care and tutoring, and there's all sorts of things.
And so how does that,
Ancillary fees,
Yes.
so they were saying that would affect the funding for public schools, how does that?
well, probably because the $4 million tax credit's gotta come from somewhere, because it's revenue not
Gotcha.
collected.
So they're taking it out of school budget, basically.
That would be my guess.
Excuse me.
And I mean, this is me kind of repeating what other things have been said. Like this is the first kind of step towards some kind of an educational voucher system. But then your money goes with you.
Gotcha.
The coalition for Montana schools seems to think they might get those votes to get it to a no.
Yeah.
On
I think
third
they needed one
reading.
more.
I think they needed one.
I sent several emails on that list yesterday, so
Yeah, yeah.
hopefully.
And then the last one, and I think Kara and Daniel will talk a little bit about this too in the personnel committee meeting, because it will have some implications for negotiations. But just to brush very broad strokes, the STARS Act school funding bill is gonna be a big deal. That passed 93-7 in second reading, so that's probably gonna go. And the real essence of the bill is, advanced opportunity for your students. You're gonna get additional funding for students who achieve college credit in your high school program or certificates of trade, so to speak, or technical certificates. You're gonna get additional monies. You have the potential to get additional monies for housing that your voters will have to approve, but you can get additional money for housing. And then if you are able to get your starting teacher salaries up to a particular threshold, you're eligible for a lot of additional funds.
Yeah, that's how I
We'll
get
talk more about that, unless you'd like to do that now. And that's all I have.
it. You guys just wanna wait till?
That's fine. Dustin, just one question, all the additions of the new kids for the kind of the second half at the elementary level, were they people coming in with seasonal jobs or ski team, or where's that?
Seasonal
Yeah.
jobs.
Yeah.
I don't know that I would say seasonal jobs, but certainly they came in for the season.
Okay.
You know, it's starting to kind of tick back up again. Brittany and I talked about this the other day. Pre-COVID, we had a lot of people that would just come in and they would just show up at the front desk and say, hey, I'm here for the ski term.
Yeah.
And we were always like, when I was new here, I was like,
That's not a
"What's
thing."
So that's starting to tick back up again. I would say that was 90% of those students. Brittany can correct me, but it's about that. And it's generally, you know, they're not here on jobs or they're working remotely, and it's really about the skiing.
The numbers were nice to see.
The numbers were nice to see. We got half of those, so, you know, from a funding perspective. I think, you know, there was a family of 4 who definitely are in that, a family of 2, another one starting next week that I think is a family of 2. And then, you know, the fill-ins in between.
Yeah.
How long do they stay?
Usually till right around April 1st-ish, till spring break. And now that the resort stays open longer, but I doubt they'll stay much longer than that. We haven't seen a lot of people displaced from the California fires though that, you know, want to come here longer term. Some short terms, but nobody longer term who actually like lost an asset. Thank you.
Great, thanks, Destin. Middle school, high school, Marla, please.
Thank you. We're in the second semester and reports went out a few weeks ago and transcripts have been updated and uploaded for college applications for our seniors. We have a couple celebrations. We had our American Legion Declamation Contest winners. First place was Ursula Blythe, second place was Pearl Goldberg, and third was Taylor McVeigh. But all the students participated, really did an outstanding job. And it takes so much courage to stand in front of an audience with an 8 to 10 minute speech and memorize. I could maybe do 30 seconds.
Yeah.
Before I had to review my notes. Yeah, I don't have that liquidity in my brain anymore. All right, and then another celebration, Miss So took a group of middle school math students to MSU last month to participate in the American Math Competition 8. First time we've done that since I've been here. And it was just fun for them to see other students excited about math in the Gallatin Valley. And then we are finishing our second round of math testing this week in the middle school. And we'll have one more major round before the year's up. And then we began our grade 11 ACT preparations yesterday. They did a trial test. And as Dustin said, downhill ski days are over and we have Nordic ski days left. PTO, Resort, and Vita, all just did a tremendous job. And the teachers for keeping the kids safe and organized. And as you mentioned, Kara, we had the middle school Valentine's Day dance this Friday. It was a student-driven initiative because they want to fundraise for the LA fire victims. So I thought this was really fantastic. And then this Thursday, the senior FOBSI scholarship applications are due. And I believe the figure is $110,000 to give away to our seniors. So we're really hoping that everybody utilizes this opportunity that they have. It's amazing. And then professionally, we are finishing our non-tenured and tenured evaluations. And then we have a PR day this Friday, and the 612 PR committee has put together a pretty jam-packed day on Valentine's. So we'll see how it goes. It'll be
Nice
fun.
romantic day.
Spent with your colleagues.
Yeah.
We'll start with cookies and coffee, Keep it nice.
Well, it's
Yeah.
funny too, because I get more nervous, I think, for the cross-country ski days than the
Oh,
downhill
really?
days, because that just seems like stuff is everywhere. Yeah.
It's a smaller group.
Go out and get lost.
Yeah.
It goes one class at a time.
Yeah, come back. So, awesome.
Thank you.
Thanks, Marla.
Yeah, thanks.
Marlo, how
Yes.
many students in that group
Which one?
for the 110K? In the senior
29.
class?
Yeah, thank you.
It said right, I
Oh,
just looked at
perfect.
that.
Yes, that's right, 29.
29.
That's good.
Yeah,
Yeah, that's
good.
gonna
That's
be
a lot of
really,
money.
That's great.
Yeah.
Awesome. Brittany.
January was a whirlwind and we survived. Ski days were a success. It's like a sense of pride to be able to talk about that unique experience that we give our kids, and then we get to even say, and now we take 4-year-olds too.
oh my gosh.
So 180 students
Oh my gosh.
skied in about 25 staff went up to support them throughout the days, and that impacts us 3 days a week in this building for 3 weeks long. And so there's a lot of juggling and shifting and flexibility that comes on the part of our staff, and they managed it really well. We finished semester 1, 2, the reporting is done, our benchmark testing is complete. We've held data discussions with all of our teachers, which helps us formulate kind of how we're moving forward to support students for the second half of the year. Our MTSS leadership team traveled to Great Falls for some really great professional development that was offered free through the state of Montana by Jessica Minahan, which was practical strategies for reducing anxiety. A lot of really good tips and tricks for practical use in the classroom. So that was really enriching for our staff. And then Marlo and I went off to the principals conference just a couple weeks ago in Helena, and I wanted to thank Dustin because he's always very supportive of us continuing our learning and networking and doing those things, so that's great. We also have our letters cohort, so I have a group of 6 teachers right now that are going through the training which is the Literacy Essentials for Teachers of Reading and Spelling. They're halfway through their two-year program, which is really exciting. They just hit that benchmark, and yeah, so I think that's about it for February. We're looking forward to daylight savings time next month, and the days are getting longer, and
Still very busy.
things. Still very busy, but yeah.
Great, thanks, Brittany. Mr. Sullivan?
So the next few weeks reflect one of the busiest windows for our IB diploma program. Aside from the exams themselves, this is the window where students are completing several of their IB internal assessments, which are long-term projects, which do count towards their IB exam scores. So really the big focus in the next couple of weeks is supporting staff and students get these projects across the finish line and uploaded and submitted to the IB. So recently I reviewed the procedures and timelines for this process with our staff, and I'll be setting up meetings to work with them one-on-one to support them in their individual classes. In the later half of this month, I'll be finalizing some of the logistics for our spring exam session, which will be right around the corner, believe it or not, with this weather, but it's coming. And then we'll also be meeting with the sophomore class to start explaining the academic pathways and reaching out to parents about that opportunity as well. And then just with that said, our first major IB assessment milestones arrive in early March when students submit their extended essays, and we'll have those 4,000 words across the finish line. So I'm hoping to share some exciting celebrations when we reconvene next month.
Excellent, awesome, thank you. Are you handling activities?
Yeah, he's got a game tonight. Senior night is tonight. And 2 more road games to complete the regular season for basketball. The district tournament is February 26th to March 1st. MHSA held their annual meeting, and there was the vote to approve the option for physical exams being required every 2 years instead of 1. And it sounded like, through conversations with John, and he wrote it here too, the main reason was like the AA's really politicked for this because their health co-providers politic to them that, it's too much, like from August 1st to August 15th, every kid in those cities or towns trying to get physicals.
Makes sense.
So the good thing is they did keep all incoming freshmen, you're required to have a physical regardless if you had one in 8th grade. And we can also write our policy however we want it. This is the minimum is that, but we can do whatever we want. We can still require them on a yearly basis. So John was gonna just quickly touch base with Kelly Reynolds up at the hospital and see, like, is it burdensome
Yeah,
if you have them every
stressful,
year?
yeah.
Yeah.
Great, thank you. Business manager Corky.
I'll have a lot to chime in on coming up, but I wanted to touch base or talk about one item, House Bill 156. Justin, you and I have talked about this a little bit. This is, it's through the House, it's in the Senate now. This is a county funding equalization act where Big Sky will contribute to other schools in the county based on taxable value. So the goal was to, I guess, high taxable value school districts would help fund other school districts. So our taxpayers will contribute around $2.5 million to other schools in our county. I mean, specifically Manhattan and Three Forks, where their tax values are below the threshold that the state set. So when the tax bills come out in the fall, there will be a line item. It will not be part of our taxes. It will be a county elementary high school equalization line item. What that means, $12 per $100,000 home value, roughly.
So it's an additional tax.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
I think
It was us and one other school district, and I forget which one.
Yeah, I think of what they say.
Was it in Mineral County? Was it an oil school?
Flathead or Missoula, one of the two.
Okay.
So we're the only two in the state?
That are gonna be paying more.
Right. For other, and you said it was based on student counts or just?
Taxable value
Just tax, and it has to be a certain level?
in the county.
Yeah, it's a function of taxable value compared to enrolled students. And so we're going to help out the rest of the school district.
People are gonna love that.
And it has a lot of traction.
I was gonna say.
Very little
It's in
opposition.
the Senate, you said?
Yeah.
So probably.
Yep.
Okay.
And thus starts the.
Yeah.
And thus starts the
Yeah.
budget committee.
Yeah,
Bring the kids back.
great. Is that it, is that all you got?
It's interesting enough that they actually call it a funding equalization. So they're not trying to hide anything.
Yeah. Yeah, use the tax dollars and not the money from the state,
But yes.
That's
basically it, right? That's nice. Great, okay. Anything else?
No.
Well, feel free to jump in on my budget committee report. So Trustee Dodd, myself, Dr. Shipman, and Corky met on January 21st. We kind of reviewed all of the needs, funding needs, kind of currently, what we've done in the past, as well as the future. And I think the big piece here is that we can, on an annual basis, really imagine a deficit going forward of at least $1 million. So that is unchanged. Last year, so fiscal year 24, we relied on $1.2 million of grant private dollars in order to balance that budget. So we're super appreciative of community support as well as House Bill 408. But that's still counting an additional $500,000 to $600,000 of private dollars coming in. That being said, there is a lot going on in Helena. Based on current enrollment data, we think we'll get about $80,000 more next year. And if some additional legislative bills pass, it could be as high as $200,000. So that piece feels promising. And the big news there, we can kind of reference back, is to the STARS Act, which I wrote down. It stands for Student and Teacher Advancement for Results and Success. So it covers salary, housing, college credits. It actually feels like it was kind of written for Big Sky. And it could have a big impact on budgeting as well as some kind of unexpected dollars coming in.
So it's good that we're having our housing, and we're moving forward with that, that's good.
yeah, again.
Yeah, for that.
So super focused on, I think through the next year, we feel fairly comfortable where those numbers are. 2 years out starts to feel a little bit more uncomfortable again, but there's definitely a lot of balls in the air right now from a legislative perspective.
Yeah, Matt, do you want to add anything?
I was just gonna say that the takeaway remains the same that the budget committee and the board and Dustin and others have been saying for the last couple of years. If we're gonna give our kids the opportunities they have, and our kids have wonderful opportunities that a lot of other kids don't have in this state, especially in a public school, we're gonna have to contribute, whether that's $5 or $50 or $500,000. We as parents and we as a district have to make up the difference because the state's not gonna do it for us. They're happy for us just to have the old math, reading, writing, English, whatever, and none of the opportunities or experiences that our kids have. So if we want that for our kids, we have to be diligent about contributing, because the only way we're making it up is philanthropy and giving and volunteering and all the other ways that parents and everybody has been helping.
Yeah, thanks. That's the message.
Can't be said
again.
enough, yeah.
Yeah, and so, right now, as we go into this cycle, and this will be kind of getting into the next committee report as well. So right now, as we kind of go into this, we're going into negotiation cycle, and this STARS Act is gonna be very beneficial for that.
Right.
Provided we can get to where we can to qualify for the STARS Act. And then beyond that, to help make up that deficit, we could right now, right, we can just move forward with just House Bill 408 and drive that down to $0. That's not a good idea.
Yeah.
So we'll be going back, right, now is the time of year, what Trustee Dodd said, is when I'll start to really start, right, the foundations are asking now, where we'll start working with PTO to kind of get things rolling, right? I mean, we're 2 weeks away from me turning my attention to August.
Yeah.
From a dollars perspective. That's all I would add.
Yeah.
Can I just interrupt 1 second?
Sure.
Matt, thank you for teeing up the pie auction. This is our one chance to come together as a school, and it's on March 21st, and I have a couple flyers for each of you guys to give to friends and, favorite stop for coffee or wherever. But it is really the chance to fundraise. And last year we raised $300,000, and between COLA and then the PTO, everything that we're funding, our budget is right around there. And so it just is everything Matt said. I just want to reiterate that this is our chance to really come together and collectively fundraise for our school. So March 21st.
Awesome.
And there is going to be one item at the pie auction that I'm anticipating going for more money than we've ever before. And I'm going to leave it as a mystery. It's going to be cool.
That's pretty, that's amazing. I know. Moving. Okay,
So
anything else budget-wise?
That budget kind of leads right into personnel,
Yeah.
so.
Thanks for all you guys' work on that, for sure. Moving on to personnel.
On the personnel side, so Danielle, myself, Chair, we met with Dr. Shipman earlier this week just to continue to discuss kind of needs as a district in terms of personnel as well as upcoming negotiations. And a big piece of that, I do think that the STARS Act will be very useful for us here and hopefully can be very supportive of Big Sky community as a whole. In addition to the STARS Act, we also discussed the extension of superintendent contract. And given kind of the reduction in staff, we felt over the last 12 months, we felt it was appropriate to do a salary freeze, despite prodding from the board and being very supportive. And I think with that, Trustee Barker had recommended an evaluation tool that was used and was helpful in terms of evaluating staff as well as superintendent.
And I'm working through that now.
Perfect. Anything to add?
Danielle, did I miss anything?
No.
So.
We can talk just a little bit more about the STARS Act, I think, because the big thing in it, I think the essence of the STARS Act, where it came from, where it sprang from Lou Jones, from Conrad, is really the key goal is the key thing that's going to make not just our district but any district eligible for those funds is the starting salary has to reach a particular threshold, and it's set at either 70% of your average or there's a number. But you can start in over 3 years, start that at 62.5% of average, and then it goes up to 70% because Montana currently is 50th in the nation for starting teacher salaries, and the average teacher salaries are somewhere around 40th or something like that. Both abysmal, but I know that the key, that's why that's the gatekeep. So we'll work really hard in negotiations to be able to, the funding that will be available to work that across the entire faculty, not just honing in on first year teachers only, but trying to spread that money across. That'll be our goal going into negotiations. I think I can speak for the team on that.
So setting that mark for starting teachers is what we do.
We have to.
As a district,
Mhm.
we can raise that number up to, and in doing that, we get funding from that bill to help with that raise,
Yeah.
to meet that
Well,
for our budget.
not just that. So there's kind of where I think the clarification needs to be had,
Yeah,
because it really has been publicized and talked about as a bill to raise early career first year teacher salaries. When at the end of the day, if you do that, you get just more money in general to do with what you would like, right? You can raise everybody's salaries, but it's not just, hey, you raise these people's salaries, it's a 1-for-1 match. That's not the case.
Right. But that's the start.
That's
That's the first step.
That's the gatekeep
Okay.
to opening up the additional funding. So,
Yeah.
I mean, the association, School Boards Association has heard from many districts that aren't gonna do it. They can't come to terms in negotiations where the starting teachers will get to a particular level to open up that for everybody else. I feel confident that we can sit down with the negotiations team of the district and get there.
Yeah.
And I think Corky mentioned it, but we'll still get the inflationary raise, or maybe it was Kara. And then the STARS Act, should it come into play, won't impact our deficit to a very significant degree, but it will impact, it'll almost give us a wash on being able to give people raises.
Right, okay. That's what I thought. I understood, yep, okay. And then and then we find out about that if it passes
Should be soon.
soon. Okay.
I can't imagine, I mean, I would expect the STARS Act to pass, but
Yeah. And then just kind of,
knock on wood.
if I could just kind of close this out with what Kara was talking about. So according to state law, the superintendent contract automatically renews in February 1st with its normal terms and the terms that exist. I'll work through some terms with this personnel committee about time and length. And then it'll end up in front of you guys for full approval.
Sounds good. Well, we appreciate that.
I appreciate it.
Okay, anything else on either of those? All right, we'll move on to discussion and action. Take a motion, please.
I'll make a motion to approve Senate Bill 307, the anticipated levy increase as presented.
I second the motion.
So this is required by law now, if you want to take advantage of what came out of Senate Bill 307 2 sessions ago. Corky will put this in the newspaper after today, that we tell the taxpayers what our current anticipated increases are in permissive levies. And you'll see that our anticipated increases really are zero, and that's probably where they're gonna end up. There might be some slight changes in that, but they won't be significant. Corky?
No, at this point, I don't think we'll have anything. And we're required to, whether we have an increase, decrease, or nothing at all, we're required to report it. But we have money in each of those buckets. And I think we'll be able to reallocate it going forward without any additional tax increase.
And we don't have any levies coming forward, obviously.
We'll talk about that in number 6, but probably.
Okay, call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously.
I'll make a motion to approve the additional language for policy on background checks.
I second the motion.
So we have to do this, right? We conduct background checks on all employees and volunteers, and anybody who's gonna be around their kids. And it's a way for the person who's been fingerprinted, if you read it, it's a process for them to challenge and to see and then to challenge what their fingerprint report said. I would suppose from a time perspective.
Yeah. But that's required by law,
Yep,
so we have.
it's required for us to access the system.
Call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passed unanimously.
I'll make a motion to approve calendar number 3 for the 2025-2026 school year.
I second the motion.
So it's a very similar process to last year. 3 calendars put together, very similar in scope to the 3 calendars that were last year. The calendar committee is myself, the principals, and Brad Packer from the association. The one thing that did come from the faculty was those 2 nights of parent-teacher conferences back to back really was long. So you'll see in all 3 of them, those days were adjusted to be over 2 weeks, like 2 consecutive Wednesdays, which
Makes sense.
the faculty rep on the committee seemed to think that was amenable for everybody. So I sent them all out. They went out in one group to faculty, staff, and parents at the same time. You can see the data is in the packet.
Number 3 was the
Number
one.
3.
It's like good response rate, I thought.
Yeah,
It was like 223, yeah.
223.
Yeah, that was
It's like
awesome.
voter turnout.
Yeah.
Almost. 2 weeks of Christmas, 1 week of Thanksgiving, that's
Yeah.
really kind of the
That's
difference
nice.
between the 3.
I mean, it's still ending on what, June 5th?
Yeah, June
Yeah,
5th
that's not
finish.
bad. Like, so. Good, great. I'll call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Passes unanimously.
I'll make a motion to approve quote 1548 from Western Sport Floors to refurnish both gyms on campus.
I second the motion.
So I put both of the quotes in there and really this I mean, this is, so everybody really
That's
understands
crazy.
like how much this kind of stuff
Yeah,
costs.
That's
insane.
crazy.
So we have 2 different paths. Obviously, I'm recommending that we just do the refinish 2 coats of the gym floors this year at, what was it, 13,000 and some change. You know, to take that floor down, LPHS gym hasn't been done for I think 4 years, and it's getting there.
Yeah.
Right? I mean, you saw that out just south of $50,000.
Yeah.
To take it down, and that's not the logos.
Right.
That's just to take it down, put the lines in,
Yeah.
and that's it. And then the logo, I think the last time we did it was $7,000 or something like that. So I think we're good to refinish them again. And then I've talked with Corky and talked with Carrie to try to start maybe tucking a few things away.
For 2 years from now.
For 2 years from now, when we're gonna have a $50,000 bill. We got lucky in here, if you remember, because there were some problems.
Yeah.
So they've come back and done that twice now, and the lines 1 additional time.
Yeah.
So this floor doesn't get quite as much use, and it's okay, but then that'll happen over the summer. But really, like, you know, those are the kinds of things like we think about when we talk about like athletic expenses. Those are the kinds of things, like the maintenance that's around,
Yeah. that people don't
just the
think about.
facilities
Yeah.
itself.
Yeah.
Was that the only company that can do that?
That's the only one that's not far away.
Okay, so the only one in Montana.
In White, actually, I think they're out
Oh,
of
in
Wyoming.
Wyoming.
Wow.
Maybe a business idea there.
Yeah, there you go. Anybody?
They roll in with, it's a
Everything.
guy, his daughters, they roll in, they do everything, and then they roll to White Sulphur, for example, last time, or that's all they do all summer long.
Yeah.
Wow.
Okay. Great. Any other questions? Call for a vote. All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Passes unanimously. We're gonna skip this next one.
That sounds,
sorry.
that sounds great. So I will unfortunately make the motion to open discussion of district clerk, business manager position.
I second the motion.
9 years ago, I was standing in the front office at the high school, like before the facility was built or anything. And some hippie guy comes walking in with his hat on backwards, hands a resume over and says, "I want to be a bus driver."
Oh.
I looked at her resume and I saw MBA, CPA, contract negotiator for Boeing. And if you remember, Sue Becker had just retired. I was like, You can work here.
Yeah, you can drive a bus.
But you're not gonna be a bus driver. So after 9 years, Corky's ready to move on. We knew what was coming. So we've talked as a personnel committee, and I think we're gonna be kind of having some meetings with Corky and doing a handful of other things to see how that could be kind of structured moving through the next couple of years, where there could possibly be some division of duties, or where can we get rid of some of the things that are already in the business office, you know, and do some tiered out responsibilities across a handful of people, and it's see what the viability of that is, and then hopefully be able to work with Corky on a contract basis for the big things, the TFS, the, you know, building of the budget, the audit, at least, you know, in a transitionary time, once we identify where those duties and responsibilities can lay.
Okay. Well, I can't say thanks enough, Corky. You've taught me a lot in those 9 years as well. So I really appreciate all the work you've put in, and the district does as well. And you're going to be missed for sure. So we're going to keep your phone on because we'll call you a lot.
I appreciate that. Unfortunately, the timing of the contract with July 30 or June 30, I apologize, is tough. So I will not leave the district hanging over the summer. I mean, that's the busy time for the business office. And you're more than welcome to call Dustin. I have the contract for my hourly rate. There's not a problem at all.
Perfect. We appreciate it again. So, any other questions? Okay. Are we voting on this, or is it just open discussion?
No, it's just discussion.
Okay. Move on to.
Also make a motion to open discussion and ballot language for spring 2025 election cycle.
So sorry, go ahead.
I second the motion.
I don't know if anybody talked about it directly during the budget committee meeting, but there's really not room for us to run a general fund levy this year. With the new, you know, we can get 33.5%. We get 33.5% now from Ennis for tuition. So I think it was gonna be $50,000. We'll get all that back and we'll still get to our max. So we won't have to go out to our voters unless this housing piece that's connected to the STARS Act has to go to the voters.
Yeah.
So that could potentially be about $250,000 for us towards the project.
Sorry, what do they vote on in that act, or part of it?
So that's, if you live in a high housing area, you can get 106% of your budget of your general fund, but the 6% has to be directed towards housing.
Okay.
But it's gotta be at the will of the voters. So we would have to put on the ballot something of $250,000 exclusively for housing.
Okay.
For employee housing.
Gotcha.
So, yeah, what I've said, there could possibly be some levies. We have time for the ballot language moving into next month. We still will, no matter what, we have the 2 trustee positions for 3-year terms. That's not going anywhere. But I just want to let everybody know that we won't be running that general fund levy, but we may be asking for some money. So I think, Corky, what's the date we have to have the language in, the 12th?
It's the 12th, so that March 11th meeting is important because we'll have to do the resolution and the language that same day. And we won't know if we can run a levy until sometime over the next couple of weeks. So we'll have it ready for that meeting, one way or the other.
Corky, can you tell me, if you know the answer, if the board approves that ballot language, let's say on March 11th, what's the latest? Is that it? Is it one and done, or can we somehow pull that off of the ballot as a non-vote in 2 weeks?
It's one and done. So we could approve it today and change on the 11th. Otherwise, when we submit the 12th, or when the board approves the 11th, we'll submit it the 12th.
And then, okay, I want to understand. Kara, can you speak to, or do you know, STARS Act passes immediately in play, or is it fiscal year 27?
I think it's 27. But I can double check that.
Yeah, let's double check that, because then that would remove all
Then we wouldn't
pressure.
have to worry about
Then we
it.
wouldn't have to worry about it. But I think it's for next year.
Yeah.
I was assuming it was fiscal year 26.
Yeah, I think it might be too, but we'll double check that. But at any rate, we'll have to have the resolution and the ballot language at next meeting. So the timing is a little bit odd, because as I said, you have to have, negotiations will be slightly later than that, so we'll just have to, there will be some risk involved somewhere possibly, and I'll speak to that if we have to. But that's kind of where we're at with the election cycle, I think.
All right, so leave that open.
So I'll make a motion to approve the consent agenda as presented.
I second the motion.
Call for a vote, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Any opposed? Passed unanimously. All right, next meeting, March 11th, Tuesday, important one, obviously, for what we just discussed.
Yeah.
So put that on your calendars and meeting adjourned.
Thanks, everyone.
Thank you.
Thanks, you guys.